The Pig War. Now, everyone's heard about the stories of the United States and Great Britain going hand to hand in combat during the Revolutionary War, even the War of 1812. But what about the time the great powers of the United States and Great Britain almost went to war over a pig? All of these stories and more, only on Alpha Prospective. Now, this dispute took place on San Juan Island, a strategically located island between Washington Territory and the Vancouver Island. At the time, both British and American sailors lived on the island, though its national ownership was unclear and vague due to the vague wording of the Oregon Treaty of 1846, which had established the United States and British boundary in the Pacific Northwest. For decades, both the U.S. and Britain had claimed the Oregon Territory, a vast region stretching from present-day California to Alaska, and the Pacific Ocean to the Rocky Mountains. The territory was rich in resources, particularly fur, which attracted traders from British Hudson's Bay Company and American fur trappers and settlers. Now, the Hudson's Bay Company is one of the oldest and most influential commercial enterprises in North America. Founded in 1670 by a royal charter from King Charles II of England, HBC initially operated as a fur trading company, controlling vast territories in present-day Canada and northern United States. Over time, it evolved into a powerful economic and political force, shaping the development of North America. The company's charter granted it exclusive trading rights to the massive Hudson Bay drainage basin, an area known as Rupert's Land, which covered parts of modern-day Canada and the northern United States. As for the resource-rich Oregon Territory, America and Britain had previously agreed to joint occupation under the Convention of 1818. But at that time, there were very few American settlers in Oregon. By 1840, their numbers had grown to around 150, and by 1859, when Oregon became a state, it was over 50,000 settlers. The Oregon Treaty of 1846 established the 49th parallel as the boundary between British and American territory from the Rocky Mountains to the Pacific Ocean. Britain retained control over Vancouver Island and navigational rights to the Strait of Juan de Fuca. Both nations agreed to resolve any further disputes diplomatically. For the U.S., the treaty secured valuable land for westward expansion, leading to the settlement of Oregon, Washington, and Idaho. For Britain, it ensured continued access to Vancouver Island and protected its fur trade in Canada. By the 1840s, Americans, inspired by Manifest Destiny, were pushing for full U.S. control over Oregon. Some expansionists even adopted the slogan 54, 40 or fight, demanding the U.S. control all land up to the 54 and 40 latitude, which extended deep into British-controlled Canada. However, Britain wanted to retain its lucrative fur trade in the region and resisted American expansion. Even during the 1844 U.S. presidential election, James K. Polk, a strong supporter of Manifest Destiny, used 54-40 or fight as a campaign slogan to rally support. He implied that the U.S. should either gain full control of the Oregon Territory or be prepared to go to war with Great Britain. Now the stage was set, and tensions would come to a head on June 13, 1859, 13 years after the Oregon Treaty, when American farmer Lyman Cutler shot a British-owned pig that had been repeatedly trespassing and eating his crops. The pig belonged to Charles Griffin, an Irish employee of the Hudson's Bay Company. Griffin had allowed his pigs to roam freely, and American settlers and British workers had lived in relative peace up until the incident. When Griffin complained, Cutler offered to pay $10 for the pig, which is about $350 today. But Griffin wasn't happy with the offer and demanded over $100, which is about $3,500 today. One likely version of the exchange has Cutler saying, "It was eating my potatoes," to which Griffin replied, "It is up to you to keep your potatoes out of my pig." Instead of accepting payment, British authorities threatened to arrest Cutler. In response, American settlers demanded the United States military's protection. The situation quickly escalated when the United States Army, under the command of Captain George Pickett, who was later on famous for Pickett's charge during the Civil War, landed on San Juan Island with 66 soldiers to assert American control. Concerned that American squatters would occupy the island if unchecked, the British on Vancouver Island sent 3 Royal Navy warships under the command of Geoffrey Hornby to counter the perceived American infringement. Pickett then defiantly declared, "We'll make a Bunker Hill of it." He initially positioned his battery under the Hudson's Bay Company's sheep farm, directly under the guns of HMS Satellite. When this tactical error was pointed out, he relocated on the high ground overlooking Griffin Bay and the Strait of Juan de Fuca. Pickett established the American military camp on the southern end of San Juan Island, while the British Royal Marines set up up a rival camp on the northern end. On August 10, 1859, the American force had grown to 461 men with 14 cannons, while the British had 5 warships carrying over 2,140 troops and 70 guns. However, neither side truly wanted war. The British naval commander, Admiral Robert L. Baines, refused to attack, saying that he would not involve two great nations in a war over a squabble about a pig. So it was in September of 1859, U.S. President James Buchanan sent General Winfield Scott to negotiate a peaceful resolution. Given the rising tensions between the U.S. leading up to the American Civil War, avoiding a conflict with Britain was in America's best interest. The standoff continued peacefully for 12 years, with both American and British troops coexisting on the island. Finally, in 1871, the Treaty of Washington was signed, and the dispute was sent to arbitration. In 1872, Kaiser Wilhelm I of Germany ruled in favor of the United States, officially making San Juan Island a part of American territory. Despite almost causing an international conflict, the Pig War ended without a single casualty. Well, except for one unfortunate pig. That's all we have for you today. Make sure you hit that like, the subscribe button, and the notification bell to keep you updated on your history. Only on Alpha Prospective.